What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Great League Remix Cup with a triple goat / sheep team. I don't know if there's like a collective genus name for this group of animals. If there is, then please feel free to educate me in the comments as to what that genus is called. But anyways, with the Global Go Fest coming up, I believe there was a research that awarded Skiddo, which previously had only been available at Safari Zone events. So I decided to put this team together, and I have to say I pulled off some insanely clutch wins with this team. So with that being said, let's just get straight into the question of the day. Would you like to see the return of the animal roulette live stream concept? And if so, what animals would you like to see featured that I didn't include last time? Let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so into the first battle, leading Go-Goat into Togetix, of course, not great for me. Gonna be safe swapping into my safe swap of Double, and unfortunately met with a Pangoro. So I'm running double nukes here. I'm going straight for Wild Charge. Wild Charge is unfortunately shielded, and that is really awkward for me because now they don't even have to go for a close combat. And Night Slash doesn't even get the KO, so they get the perfect karate chop farm down. It's really not looking too ideal for me, but we're gonna come in with the Go-Goat. They can reach a charge move here. I'm gonna no shield. The opponent full sense of close combat, but Go-Goat able to hang on. I can reach the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade is going to be shielded by Pangoro, and they actually swap out straight away into Togetic. I can come in with the Shadow Ampharos. I'm going to shield the first move. The opponent does go for a Side Shock bait there, but that's okay with me. I'm firing off the Trailblaze, of course. Both charge moves are resisted, but Trailblaze gonna boost up my attack, and at this point, I'm definitely gonna no shield this next charge move as they go for a Side Shock. Side Shock still does quite a lot of damage, but I do get a full farm down. Now, I do believe the opponent does have a charge move loaded, so instead of going for a charge move of my own, I'm gonna shield here, go for a Volt Switch farm down. The opponent swaps out, and their final Pokemon is Diggersby, but I'm already boosted. Trailblaze does huge damage, and for us, able to reach another Trailblaze here. Trailblaze is going to get the KO up against the Diggersby, and I can go for a Volt Switch farm down. We get a simultaneous KO. Go-Goat still alive in the back, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG Turbo there, into next battle, a much more comfortable lead for me, and actually a Pokemon that my entire team is pretty comfortable against. We're going to go for the Leaf Blade after 7 Vine Whips here, throwing on good timing, and I will actually shield, respect the damage from a potential Ice Beam. I did recently get hit by an Ice Beam, running a Grass type, and that really caught me off guard, so just use the shield there. We're now going to go for another Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade gets the KO, and the opponent comes in with a Pangoro once again. So at this point, going straight for Brick Break. Brick Break is going to grab the final shield from the opponent, and they're going to farm up to back-to-back Night Slashes, and I realize I've debuffed their defense. Leaf Blade probably gets the KO here, so I'm definitely just going to shield, play it safe, fire off the Leaf Blade, and Leaf Blade does get the KO up against Pangoro. They've got Diggersby in the back, and things are looking amazing for me. I go straight for Leaf Blade once again. Leaf Blade does big damage. I swap into Double, and the opponent recognizing there's nothing they can do, and so they just concede the match. So, GG's up on their into next battle. See Diggersby in the lead this time around. Absolutely fine with me. The opponent's going to safe swap into a Clefable, so I'm actually going to stay in initially. Fire off a Leaf Blade here. Leaf Blade in neutral situations. Such a good charge move. You can see it does about 50% of their HP already. I'm going to no-shield this, and they actually go for a Meteor Mash, which kind of caught me off guard there. I was expecting to just be a Swift bait, but either way, I'm going to go for another Leaf Blade here. Leaf Blade is going to be shielded by the opponent, and at this point, I'm thinking it might be Diggersby Double Fairy. So at this point, I don't mind letting the move go through here. Gonna come in with my Shadow Ampharos. The opponent banks some energy before swapping into a Diggersby. So we're gonna go for the Trailblaze here, and I could stay in this matchup after boosting up my attack, and I think I will actually do exactly that. So I'm gonna shield this. The opponent is gonna go for a Fire Punch bait, but I don't mind that because obviously Fire Punch has no chance of debuffing my attack. We go for the Brutal Swing. At this point, they have to shield, and now I'm gonna swap into my Double. Double, pretty bulky, so I will just no shield this. The opponent fires off the Scorching Sands. They drop my attack, which is unfortunate, and they come in with a Shadow Alola Ninetales. So it is Diggersby Double Fairy. Wild Charge does respectable damage, and the opponent does throw straight away. And with that Wild Charge, I've debuffed my defense. Weather Ball gets the KO, and now I can come back in with my Shadow Ampharos. Now, of course, I'm going to try and go for a full Volt Switch farm down, but I'm not sure if I will be able to get a full farm down here. And you can see it is incredibly close, but not quite enough. I have to fire for Charge Move. I go for Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing gets the KO. They come back in with Diggersby and Shadow Ampharos, able to reach the Trailblaze here. Trailblaze gets the KO up against the Diggersby, and Shadow Ampharos hangs on with 1 HP and a dream, getting the Volt Switch farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle, another Pangoro in the lead. So once again, I'm going to go straight for a Leaf Blade here, losing CMP. Actually, no, I don't think we have seen a Pangoro in the lead just yet. Never mind, I don't know what I'm talking about, but we're going to go for a Leaf Blade, losing CMP, but this can grab a shield back from the opponent, and now I swap into my double, but the opponent responds with a Claydol, and this is where having double nukes is very ideal, because of course, if I was just on Body Slam and Wild Charge, I can't really hit this Claydol very hard here. Of course, double kick is resisted, but now I can just safely win the zero shield scenario here, and I've already grabbed a shield advantage, so I don't expect the opponent to shield here. So I'm going to go for another payback. Payback gets the KO there, but they do come back in with the Pangoro, and they do get quite a large farm down after, of course, already banking a ton of energy before swapping out. So we're going to come in with the Ampharos. They do bait with a Night Sash, and the fact they throw straight away makes me think that they might just go for the close combat, but nope, it's another bait there, and they actually come in with a Dust Noir. So at this point, it's looking a bit tricky for us. We go for the Brutal Swing. They actually no-shield that. It makes sense because, of course, if I baited with a Trailblaze and then went for a boosted Brutal Swing, that would be game over for the opponent. But unfortunately, that Shadow Punch does so much damage, they can Astonish, farm down the rest of my team, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up in there. Now we have seen another Pangoro in the lead. So we are going to stay in this matchup here. Again, throwing on the CMP tie. We are going to lose CMP. And the opponent once again full sends to close combat. But that's fine with me. We can grab a shield here with the Leaf Blade. And again, I'm going to swap into my double. And this will force the opponent to swap out of this matchup. But they come in with a Shadow Dust Noir. Now, of course, double isn't guaranteed to be on payback. But I'm on payback. So I'm full sending it. And the opponent does unfortunately shield. At this point, if they do bait me, I will throw straight away. If they went for the Dynamic Punch there, I would have overfarmed by one double kick, but now going to go straight for the payback. Payback gets the one shot there, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent is waiting out the switch clock in its full, and then coming back in with the Pangoro. At this point, I'm going to no-shield this. They have to go for a close combat here, and they do exactly that. But we come in with the Shadow Ampharos. They come in with Diggersby, and you think this is a bad matchup, but no, that's actually not the case, as I've still got a shield advantage. We go for Trailblaze. Trailblaze does big damage. I'm going to shield the first charge move here. The opponent does bait with a Fire Punch, but I can outpace them to the Scorching Sand. So this is just going to be a Fire Punch bait. Fire Punch, not going to do too much damage there. I'm going to overfarm as much as possible with the Shadow Ampharos. Fire off the Trailblaze here. Trailblaze gets the KO, and I actually go for a Brutal Swing. This is double boosted, but it's also double resisted. It doesn't do enough damage, but a double boosted Volt Switch does get the farm down there. And again, having the Go-Goat in the back, I'm able to take that game. So, GG stuff on there, into the next battle. Very tricky lead for me as I lead into a Shadow Fortress. Although, actually, I probably could have stayed in for a little bit because they're going to be on Volt Switch, probably on Rock Tomb, and possibly even Earthquake. So, not going to take that much damage from the Fortress. But either way, we swap into double. I actually throw straight away there, expecting the opponent to throw immediately. Maybe I could have just gone for an extra double kick there. But either way, the opponent's going to swap into a Spirit Tomb. I go for Wild Charge, expecting to grab a shield anyways, and debuffing my defense, hopefully allowing for less farm, but either way, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. I'm now going to come in with the Go-Goat. I do shield and correctly shield a Shadow Ball. I'm going to go for Leaf Blade here. I don't know who wins CMP in this matchup. It might actually be the Spirit Tomb, so I'm not going to throw straight away here. Instead, I will just shield and then commit to a full Vine Whip farm down. They fire off the Rock Tomb, and they swap back into Fortress. So at this point, I'm going straight for Brick Break here. Brick Break, not going to do enough damage to get the KO, and I do swap out. I preserve the health on the Go-Goat, but I catch a Rock Tomb, and that does so much damage up against the Shadow Ampharos. I do get the farm down, but they've got Claydol in the back. I'm not able to reach a charge move there, and it didn't really matter anyways because the opponent will be outpacing me to back-to-back charge moves. Of course, Ice Beam gets the KO up against the Go-Goat, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there, into the next battle, we see a Medicham in the lead. So this is fine with me, of course. They're probably going to be on Ice Punch, but you're going to see Leaf Blade still does respectable damage in this matchup. It does about 30% of their HP there. The opponent fires off the Ice Punch, and Ice Punch is going to do a little bit more damage than the Leaf Blade. However, this Leaf Blade is going to put them into farm down range. Now, it just depends, do I want switch advantage or not? I'm going to no-shield this, and I will just let the Go-Go go down. We're going to come in with the Ampharos, go for the Volt Switch farm down, but they come in with a Steelix. But actually, this isn't that bad for me. They're, of course, double resisting the Volt Switch damage, but I can go for Trailblaze, boost up my attack here. The opponent is, of course, going for resisted Thunder Fangs. They go for a Psychic Fangs there, debuffing my defense, but that's okay. We're still resisting the fast move. I go for Brutal Swing. I actually grab a shield there, which is a little bit surprising to me. But at this point, I am going to shield up this next charge move, fire off another Trailblaze here, and then if they do double shield, I will swap into my double to go for a double kick farm down. A very aggressive farm down as well. If the opponent did overfarm a lot, I maybe would have shielded, but they just go straight for another Psychic Fangs. Absolutely fine with me. I'm going to overfarm here, but the opponent makes a really nice catch there, catching the payback onto their Medicham. But at this point, I'm thinking, you know what? The fact that they're staying in with the Steelix and they are trying to make catches and stuff, they might be weak to the double in the back, so I'm going to shield that up there. A little bit risky, but we get the full farm down, and they are incredibly weak as they've got a Shadow Claw, a Alolan Sandslash in the back. I can go for back-to-back wild charges. First one does huge damage. The second wild charge will be getting the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we see Go-Goat into Diggersby. So, a fine lead matchup for me. The opponent is going to swap into a Charm Daxbun. So, again, probably going to be Diggersby double Fairy here. And the fact that they're swapping into a Charmer is probably going to be double Charm. So, I'm actually going to stay in here. I don't really mind too much. We've seen already, Shadow Ampharos with a shield advantage is absolutely going to destroy that Diggersby. So, I don't mind. We've grabbed the shield advantage. But you know what? I might now just shield here as the opponent goes for a Psychic Fangs, then swap into my Shadow Ampharos and committing to a full Volt Switch farm down. The opponent does reach a last second charge move, and the opponent is going to go for a Body Slam, which does do more damage than the Psychic Fangs, but they get denied as they come in, and that might be costly for the opponent as we go for Trailblaze. And you can see we reach another Trailblaze. I think I would have lived one more quick attack anyway, so I don't think it mattered too much. But either way, Trailblaze gets the KO. They fully sacrifice it. They come in with Shadow, Alola Ninetales, and things are looking fairly good for me. Go-Goat does have a little bit of residual energy. I'm going to farm up 2 back-to-back wild charges before firing off a charge move with a double, and then we're going to see how much damage a wild charge actually does. But either way, we farm up 2 back-to-back wild charges. First one coming through, going to be no shielded by the opponent, so I actually just swap into the Go-Goat. I can snipe with Divine Whip damage, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. Awful lead matchup for me. So I'm going to say swap into my double. And I'm not going to throw a charge move straight away here because, of course, if I go for a wild charge, that is going to debuff my defense. So the opponent fires off a Sky Attack before swapping into a Shadow Whiscash. I'm going straight for Payback. Payback does big damage up against the Shadow Whiscash. I'm hoping I am healthy enough to live a Mud Bomb and reach another Payback. However, Mud Bomb does get me incredibly low. I'm just going to play it safe here. Fire off the wild charge, hoping for a shield. But the opponent does correctly call that it is not enough energy for another Payback, and they're able to tank it, which is very unfortunate for me. I kind of needed to flip switch advantage there, but I didn't want to go down a shield, and you can see switch advantage would have been so beneficial for me, but at this point it's looking really difficult. However, Go-Goat is going to resist the sand attack damage, so it's not over yet. Of course, all shields are still in play. I'm now finally going to use my first shield here, but I can stall the switch clock quite a lot, and I will be able to swap out of this matchup without taking a charge move from the Corviknight. So we go for another break there. The opponent once again no shield. At this point, Leaf Blade probably enough damage to get the KO. Now, I could swap out straight away. I expect the opponent probably would have swapped out straight away as well. So I actually waited. I was hoping the opponent was going to instantly swap out of that matchup. They did not, which is really unfortunate for me. They also banked a lot of energy on the Corviknight. So at this point, we come back in with the Go-Goat. I know I will lose CMP. Dynamic Punch does huge damage there. I'm going to fire off a Leaf Blade. I hope they just let this go through. And the opponent does actually let it go through. And can we reach back-to-back Leaf Blades? No, we're just getting there. But the opponent, of course, has the Sky Attack loaded now. Sky Attack takes out the Go-Goat, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there, and the bad leads continue as we see a Shadow Dragonite in the lead. This time, I am just going straight for Wild Charge here. I need to apply some shield pressure. Wild Charge grabs a shield from the opponent. They might actually be able to go for a full Dragon Breath farm down, but they don't. They go for the Dragon Claw here. I have to just let the double go down. Gonna come in with my Shadow Ampharos, waiting at the switch clock as I'm switch locked, and the opponent is not. But they come in with a Jellicent, and this is absolutely fine with me. At this point, I'm not gonna throw straight away. No one charge move would get the KO from this range, so instead, gonna shield up the Surf, and now actually going to bank all of that energy, come in with the Go-Goat and catch the next Surf as they do throw immediately. And now I've put them into range where Go-Goat can Vine Whip farm them all the way down. Now, of course, the opponent might not be familiar with the moveset on the Go-Goat, as not many people have access to this Pokemon, and as a result, they come in with the Sand Slash. I go for Brick Break. It's double super effective. Brick Break number 2 gets the KO there. They come back in with the Shadow Dragonite, and they do get the farm down. However, it doesn't matter. Shadow Ampharos at 100 energy. We fire off Brutal Swing number 1. It grabs the final shield. The opponent farming up 2 back-to-back Dragon Claws before throwing, but it doesn't matter. Brutal Swing number 2 gets the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into next battle, we see Go-Goat into Dust Noir. So, a fairly neutral matchup for me. Of course, I do have a normal type in the back, but they've got, obviously, coverage with Dynamic Punch. So, going to be quite risky for me to try and make a catch here. So, what I do is I go for the Leaf Blade straight away, and the opponent is going to fire a charge move. They go for Shadow Punch there, fine with me. I can go for one Vine Whip, fire off the Leaf Blade, and if they try to throw it on good timing, I will try and swap and catch the move. Nope, never mind. I'm not going to do that. I don't know why I didn't try and swap there. You can see even Go-Goat shaking his head like, why didn't you try and catch there? And at this point, we're going to come in with a double, and I'm definitely going to respect the damage from a potential Dynamic Punch. The opponent is going to full send it before swapping into a Tinkaton. Now, unfortunately, whilst I do have Wild Charge, and Wild Charge is an amazing move here, it is non-stab, double, fairly bulky, so you can see it actually doesn't do enough damage to two-shot them up against the Tinkaton, so I'm forced to swap out. We come in with the Shadow Ampharos. I'm going to have to obviously tank this damage. They do just go for a Bulldoze. I believe Play Rough would do more damage in that situation, so kind of fine with me, but they come in with a Medicham, and this is definitely very tricky for me. If the opponent does throw straight away here, I think we just lose because the opponent is going to do exactly that. They go straight for the Ice Punch. Ice Punch gets the KO, and then, of course, they will outpace me to a Dynamic Punch. Even if I made it to a Wild Charge, I think it barely just wouldn't quite KO from that range, but either way, Dynamic Punch easily takes out the double, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there. Into next battle, we see Go-Goat into Shadow Gligar. So we're going to go straight for Leaf Blade here, and they don't throw straight away, so I will just swap out immediately after landing the Leaf Blade. We come in with a double, and the opponent comes in with a Shadow Swampert. Now, I go for the payback straight away. I do throw an alignment. I give a full mud shot through, but they no-shield. It does huge damage. And I believe they're at 7 mud shots, so if I let this go through and I'm able to survive, I can just go for a full double kick. Farm down. We get the farm down. We come out close to a Wild Charge, but the opponent does throw after a single wing attack. Airy Lace takes out the double. Now we can come in with the Shadow Ampharos, and I'm happy to shield once. If they do go for the dig, I should be able to fully farm them down, and they full send it. Their final Pokemon, gonna be a Diggersby, and at this point, we've got such a huge energy advantage. I'm just gonna stay in with the Shadow Ampharos, go for the Trailblaze, and I'm able to reach another Trailblaze, but I realize they're gonna have to start shielding at some point, so we go for the Brutal Swing, we grab a shield from the opponent, and at this point, I think I will be shielding here. The opponent is going to full send the Scorching Sands there. We're now going to go for the Trailblaze once again. Trailblaze is going to grab the final shield from the opponent, and I'm just going to stay in and force the opponent to throw their energy. The opponent is finally going to go for a charge move. They go for the Fire Punch gets the KO. We come in with the Go-Goat, but I'm able to outpace them to the Leaf Blade there. Well, I think the opponent might have actually over-farmed, but it is a mistake, as now we can go for the Vine Whip farm down, taking out the Shadow Gligar, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into next battle, see a Jellicent in the lead. The opponent's going to say swap into a Grumpig. Now, this is fine with me. Jellicent, of course, my entire team does pretty well against, so I don't really need pitch advantage, but I'm going to stay in with the Go-Goat. Maybe I should have come in with my Shadow Ampharos there because I do have Brutal Swing, but either way, we're staying in. We're going to go for another Leaf Blade here. If the opponent shields, I probably should just let the Go-Goat go down, but I am going to actually possibly double shield here. I'm gonna double shield. They full send the Shadow Ball this time around, but then we swap at the same time as the opponent, and that is really costly for me because now the opponent can outpace me. They full send the close combat. They get the one shot, and now things aren't looking too good for me. I can come back in with the Go-Goat, and I'm gonna go for a Brick Break here because I expect a shield from the opponent. They've already debuffed their defense. Brick Break, gonna debuff their defense by one more stage, and I'm hoping the opponent does just full send another close combat, but Night Slash gets the KO there. We can come in with a double, and they are super debuffed, but not quite enough for me to get the double kick farm down. Close combat, one shots the double, and despite the fact that I had such a good lead matchup there, just that swap into Ampharos at the same time as the opponent completely cost me the game. But GG's to the opponent. Into next battle, we're going to see a Primeape in the lead, and similar to the Pangoro, I'm just going to no-shield. They actually bait with a Rage Fist, which is fine with me. I'm now going to fire off a Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade is going to be no-shielded by the opponent, so I'm now going to swap as they reach the next Rage Fist, catch it onto my double where it is double resisted, and Rage Fist, of course, not going to do much damage. They're double buffed, so they do a fair amount of damage with the Karate Chops, but either way, they're now going to come in with a Diggersby. Absolutely fine with me. Gonna go and fire off the Payback. Payback does respectable damage there, about 30% of their HP, and the opponent will fire off a charge move. Now, double, fairly bulky. We should be able to tank this, and I should be able to reach another Payback before they fully farm me down. However, likewise, Diggersby, very bulky. They're able to hang on, and they do come out with a Fire Punch, so I expect the opponent will just blind throw the Fire Punch, expecting the Go-Goat to come back in. So I come in with my Ampharos, and they've got a Grumpig in the back. Now, of course, we've got access to Brutal Swing, but you can see these side waves are seriously chunking up against the Ampharos. I'm not going to reach 3 charge moves, so I have to go for Brutal Swing number 2 and then swap into my Go-Goat. Remember, we did bank a lot of energy here, so we're going straight for Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade going to connect. It does respectable damage there, but I do need another charge attack to get the KO. I cannot go for a full farm down, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to double shield. I expect the opponent to swap out back into Diggersby to catch the Leaf Blade, so I don't throw straight away, and as a result, the opponent recognizing we've got the energy, and so they just concede the match. But GG's up in there. Into the next battle, we see a Swalot in the lead, so not really ideal for me, but they are on Mud Shot, so I'm actually going to stay in initially, bank a Leaf Blade, and then eventually swap into my double. I don't mind sponging the damage here onto my double as the opponent goes for a Sludge. Sludge does about 30% of our HP, not too much. They're going to throw off another charge move. This time they go for Ice Beam, which is a little bit of a strange decision, but either way, it doesn't really matter. And now they swap into Dugong, and this is fine with me. We can go for the Wild Charge, dealing big damage, go for a second Wild Charge straight away. Wild Charge number 2 grabs a shield advantage. And remember, we actually banked a Leaf Blade before swapping out, so I go straight for Leaf Blade here. Leaf Blade is going to get the KO. They don't want to use both their shields, so let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent's going to come back in with a Swalot, so I come in with my Shadow Ampharos, and I'm waiting for the opponent to throw. The opponent is going to fire for charge move just before I reach a Trailblaze or a Brutal Swing. The opponent tries to catch a Brutal Swing, but it backfires. They swap into Greninja, and now this is absolutely game over. We go for Trailblaze, boosting up our attack, and now these Brutal Swings are actually going to do quite a lot of damage in this matchup. We grab the final shield from the opponent, and I can reach another Brutal Swing. All I have to do here, safely shield up the Sludge, go straight for the Brutal Swing, and Brutal Swing, if it doesn't KO, will get them incredibly low. It actually does not get the KO there. They can fire off a last second charge move, but it just doesn't matter at this point. Of course, they're not going to have back-to-back charge moves. Go-Goat can come in, get the Vine Whip farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG top there, into the next battle, another Corviknight in the lead. So once again, going to say swap into double, but this time I'm actually going to go straight for the Wild Charge here. Either grab a shield advantage or just deal huge damage in this matchup, and the opponent does actually no shield, so that's fine with me. I'm now going to shield this up here as they full send a payback, so I don't really know if that means they're not on Heavy Slam or if they're not on Sky Attack, but either way, I farm up, I throw on the CMP tie, and Wild Charge grabs a shield from the opponent. So at this point, the opponent is going to fire off an Iron Head. Iron Head doesn't quite get the KO, but they do get the Sand Attack farm down. Now here, I'm going for an incredibly aggressive Vine Whip farm down attempt, but it backfires as the opponent does reach a last second charge. He should have just come in with the Ampharos there. I could have farmed them down in like 2 Volt Switches. And their next Pokemon, sorry, we haven't even seen the final Pokemon, they're going to have a double flyer team with Togetic. So I actually go for a chip damage there with the Leaf Blade as I realize Ampharos only has resisted charge moves anyways. Now I'm going to go for a Trailblaze here. Trailblaze grabs a shield from the Thievul, and at this point I definitely have to shield this. Night Slash won't quite get the KO, but it will put me into farm down range. I'm able to commit to the Trailblaze, winning CMP, boosting up my attack once again. Trailblaze gets the KO here. The opponent comes back in with the Togetic, and I do actually get off 2 Volt Switches before they do throw a charge move. Here I'm going to overfarm as much as possible, fire off the Leaf Blade on the CMP tie. It's resisted damage, but it's a great move. Leaf Blade is not enough damage, unfortunately, to get the KO there, and as a result, the opponent can go for the Aerial Ace, taking out the Go-Goat, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there into the final battle of this video. Go-Goat into Dunsparce. They swap into their own double, and this is fine with me. I'm going to go and fire off a Brick Break here. Honestly, I don't really need to go for Brick Break. Whilst it is super effective, 2 Leaf Blades probably will get the KO anyways. However, we go for the Brick Break. It's done now. I'm going to shield this just because they did farm up to the payback, but they are just going to go for a Body Slam. So at this point, I'm happy to let the next move go through. I'm now going to go for a bit of an overfarm, farm up to back-to-back Leaf Blades. If they shield this, I'm not going to fire off the next one straight away. Instead, I'm going to swap into my own double, and I put them into range where I should be able to double kick farm them down, as I have debuffed their defense. They go for a Body Slam. They now swap back into their Dunsparce. This is fine with me. I'm going to go and fire off the Payback here, as I don't want to debuff my defense. Payback does big damage. The opponent is going to fire off a charge move eventually, but I should be able to tank anything they throw. They go for Drill Run, and I can outpace them to the Wild Charge here. Wild Charge from this range does take out the Dunsparce. And let's see what the opponent wants to do. They come in with a Togetic, but I'm going to come in with the Shadow Ampharos. They don't farm up to the Dazzling Gleam, so I'm definitely just going to no-shield whatever they throw. It is a Side Shock. It does do quite a lot of damage. They come in with a double, and I can't quite get a full farm down, but I fire off the Trailblaze here. Trailblaze is going to get the KO, but of course, it boosts up my attack here, which means I can just safely shield this up. I've now got back-to-back Brutal Swings. And honestly, I think the opponent might be at 1 HP here, so I'm going to fully undercharge this. Brutal Swing does KO through the shield, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.